His father threw pasta at him for being gay, but what Grandpa did went too far. The fork clattered against the plate like a gunshot in the quiet kitchen, sauce splattering across the checkered tablecloth. Jake Harlan, 22 and fresh out of community college with a graphic design degree clutched under his arm like a shield, stared at his father across the scarred oak table. The air hung heavy with the tang of garlic and regret, the kind that seeped into your bones before you even knew it was there. Outside, the Ohio dawn painted the sky in hesitant pinks, birds chirping like they didn't know the world was cracking open. "Dad, I'm gay." The words tumbled out, raw and unpolished, Jake's voice cracking on the last syllable. His heart hammered against his ribs, each beat a desperate plea for the man who'd taught him to fish at dawn, to fix carburetors with nothing but spit and prayer, to just nod and say, "Okay, son." But Roy Harlan's face twisted, not with the slow burn of disappointment Jake had braced for, but with something feral, red-hot. His fork, still loaded with a twirl of spaghetti, shot across the table like a missile. It hit Jake square in the chest, cold noodles slapping against his gray hoodie, sauce blooming like blood on the fabric. The plate followed, shattering against the wall behind him in a wet explosion of ceramic and marinara. "You what?" Roy's bellow echoed off the yellowed wallpaper, his chair scraping back with a screech that made Jake flinch. At 48, Roy was all broad shoulders and faded tattoos from his days hauling freight on the Ohio River. A man who'd never backed down from a union fight or a bar brawl. Now his eyes bulged, veins throbbing in his neck like rivers about to flood. "You ain't no faggot in my house. Not my boy." Jake's breath hitched, a sharp inhale that tasted like iron. The sauce dripped down his shirt, warm and sticky, pooling in his lap. He wanted to bolt, to grab his keys from the hook by the door and peel out in his beat-up Ford pickup, but his legs felt nailed to the linoleum. This was the moment he'd rehearsed in the shower 100 times, steam clouding the mirror as he whispered the words to his reflection. But nothing prepared him for the hate radiating off his father like heat from a blast furnace. "Roy, easy now." From the doorway, Grandpa Harlan's voice cut through, gravelly and steady as the rumble of a V8 engine. Elias Harlan, 75 and built like the old barns he used to repair, leaned against the frame in his threadbare Cardinals cap and overalls stained with motor oil from a lifetime as a mechanic. His eyes, sharp blue like Jake's, flicked from son to grandson, reading the room like a diagnostic code. He'd been flipping pancakes in the next room, the sizzle masking Jake's confession until it was too late. Roy whirled on him, fork forgotten, fists clenching at his sides. "Stay out of this, old man. This is between me and my blood." Elias didn't budge, his gnarled hands folding over his chest. The kitchen clock ticked louder now, each second a hammer strike. Jake could smell the burnt edges of the pancakes, the faint char mixing with the metallic tang of fear in his throat. He wiped at his shirt, smearing the mess, his fingers trembling. "Dad, please," Jake whispered, the plea barely audible over the roar in his ears. But Roy was already storming out, boots thudding against the floorboards, the screen door slamming like a final judgment. The truck engine roared to life in the driveway, gravel crunching under tires as it vanished down the lane. Silence fell, thick and suffocating. Elias shuffled forward, his joints popping softly, and pulled out a chair with a gentleness that belied his size. He sat across from Jake, close enough that the faint scent of aftershave and pipe tobacco wrapped around him like a hug. "Boy," Elias said, voice low, "that ain't how family works. Not in Harlan blood." Jake's eyes burned, hot tears tracing paths through the sauce on his cheek. He looked up, searching his grandfather's face, the deep lines etched from years under the sun, the faint scar above his brow from a wrench slip in '72. Elias had always been the steady one, the storyteller by the fire pit, spinning yarns about riverboats and lost loves while Roy nursed a beer and grunted approvals. "What am I gonna do, Grandpa?" Jake's voice broke, a sob catching in his chest. The weight of it all pressed down. The job interviews in Columbus he'd lined up, the apartment lease he'd signed in secret, the boyfriend waiting 2 hours away with texts that lit up his phone like hope. Elias reached across, his hand engulfing Jake's in a grip warm and unyielding. You breathe, son. Then you stand. And you remember, love don't throw plates. It builds bridges. But as the sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the kitchen, Jake couldn't shake the echo of that slam, the sting of sauce cooling on his skin. Little did he know, the real storm was just brewing. Elias's quiet fury, simmering like embers, ready to ignite in ways no one could predict. The rest of the morning blurred into a haze of cleanup. Jake scrubbed the wall with a sponge, the red stain fading but never quite gone, a ghost on the plaster. Elias hummed an old Johnny Cash tune under his breath, flipping more pancakes onto a plate with practiced ease. The batter sizzled, butter melting in golden pools, but Jake's stomach churned at the thought of food. Eat something, Elias prodded, sliding the plate over. Can't fight empty. Jake forced down a bite, the sweetness cloying against the salt of his tears. His phone buzzed on the counter. Alex, his boyfriend, the message a simple heart emoji that twisted the knife deeper. Alex was 23, a barista in the city with ink-black hair and a laugh that could melt steel. They'd met at a pride rally last summer, hands brushing over a shared rainbow flag, sparks flying brighter than the fireworks over the Scioto River. I told him last night, Jake admitted, fork hovering, about coming out today. He said it'd be okay. Elias nodded, chewing thoughtfully. And it will be. Your pa's just scared, Jake. Scared of what he don't understand. But fear's a liar. By noon, the house felt too small, the walls closing in with memories. Thanksgivings where Roy carved the turkey with pride. Christmases where Elias strung lights that twinkled like stars. Jake packed a duffel in his room upstairs, posters of indie bands curling at the edges, his sketchpad filled with designs that dreamed of bigger things. Downstairs, Elias waited by the door, keys jingling in his pocket. Come on, boy. Let's get you to that bus station. Columbus ain't the end of the world. It's the start. The drive was quiet, the old Chevy's engine purring along Route 23, cornfields whipping by in waves of green. Jake stared out the window, the glass cool against his forehead, the hum of tires a lullaby he didn't want to hear. Elias broke the silence with a story, voice weaving through the air like smoke. Back in '68, I had a buddy, Tommy. Fine man, worked the line at the plant. We shipped out to Nam together, shared foxholes and sea rats. Tommy liked Fellas, kept it buried deep, but I knew. When he got hit, I held him while the medevac came. Whispered it was gonna be all right. Never told a soul till now. Jake turned, eyes wide. The revelation hung there, simple and profound, the road unspooling beneath them. Why now? He asked, voice thick. 'Cause it's time you knew you're not alone, Jake. Harlan's been fightin' for what's right since before you were a gleam. And we'll keep fightin'. The bus station loomed, a squat brick building with faded benches and the acrid smell of diesel. Jake hugged Elias tight, the old man's heartbeat steady against his chest, flannel rough under his palms. Call me when you land, Elias murmured, clapping his back. And remember, home's where the heart don't flinch. As the bus pulled away, Jake watched his grandfather shrink in the side mirror, a lone figure against the horizon. But the ache in his gut told him this wasn't goodbye. It was the spark to something fiercer. Columbus hit Jake like a fever dream, neon signs flickering over brick streets, the Olentangy River glinting under streetlights like a promise. His apartment was a third-floor walk-up in the short north, walls thin enough to hear the neighbors' salsa music thumping at midnight, rent scraped from freelance gigs and Alex's tips. The first night, he collapsed on the futon, duffel unzipped at his feet, the faint scent of home, sawdust and sauce, clinging to his clothes. Alex arrived at dawn, key turning soft in the lock, coffee steaming in paper cups. He was all lean muscle and easy grace, bar apron still tied around his waist, dark eyes scanning Jake like he was reading a map to buried treasure. "Babe," Alex breathed, crossing the room in 2 strides. He dropped the coffees, pulled Jake into his arms, the embrace fierce and grounding. Jake buried his face in Alex's neck, inhaling the mix of espresso and sandalwood soap, the world righting itself in that press of bodies. "Tell me," Alex said, guiding him to the couch, fingers tracing the sauce stain now faded to pink. Jake spilled it all, the words, the fork, the shatter. His voice rose and fell with the memory, hands gesturing wild, the room filling with the echo of that slam. Alex listened, thumb stroking Jake's knuckles, his silence a balm. When Jake finished, chest heaving, Alex cupped his face. "You're brave as hell, Jake, and I'm proud, but that ain't the end." They made love that morning, slow and urgent, sunlight slanting through blinds in golden bars across the bed. Alex's whispers were poetry against Jake's skin. "You're mine, you're safe," each touch erasing a layer of hurt. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of them, Jake felt the first crack in the armor around his heart. But the call came that evening, shattering the fragile peace. His phone lit up with Roy's number, the ringtone a generic chirp that now sounded like an alarm. Jake stared at it, thumb hovering, until it went to voicemail. The message was short, voice thick with bourbon. "Don't come back, boy. Not till you fix this. Whatever it is. You're dead to me." Jake played it on speaker, the words landing like punches. Alex's jaw tightened, but he said nothing, just pulled Jake close, their heartbeats sinking in the dim light. By week 2, Jake's portfolio was out, emails to agencies, sketches of logos that popped like fireworks. He landed a gig designing menus for a queer-owned cafe in German Village. The owner a drag queen named Ruby with sequins that caught the light like stars. "Honey," Ruby drawled, flipping her wig. "You got fire. Use it." Nights blurred into shifts at a bookstore, shelves groaning under paperbacks of Auden and Baldwin. The musty pages a refuge. Alex worked doubles, but they'd steal moments. Picnics by the river, feet dangling over the edge, laughter bubbling as they fed ducks stale bread. "Remember that time in the alley?" Alex teased one twilight, the water lapping soft below. Jake grinned, heat rising. Their first kiss, pressed against graffiti walls, the thrill of secrecy turning to fire. Yet the ghost of home lingered. Jake dreamed of the kitchen, waking with the phantom sting on his chest, sheets twisted around him. Elias called weakly, voice crackling over the line from the landline in the hall. "Your pa's mopin' like a wet dog, but he asks after you." Indirect like. Jake's throat tightened. "Miss you, Grandpa. Miss you more, Sparkplug. Now what's this Alex fella like? He treat you right?" Jake laughed, the sound rusty but real, describing Alex's quirks. The way he danced to bad radio in the kitchen, burned toast but nailed tiramisu. Elias chuckled, deep and warm. "Sounds like a keeper. Bring him home sometime. We'll grill steaks, tell lies about my war stories." But home felt fractured, a puzzle with missing pieces. Jake pushed it down, threw himself into the city. Pride parades where rainbows draped like capes, bars pulsing with bass that vibrated in your chest. One night, at a dive called the Rusty Nail, Jake spotted a guy from high school, Mike, nursing a beer at the bar. Mike, the quarterback who'd pinned Jake against lockers with jokes that cut too deep. Their eyes met, and Mike froze, then slid over, voice low. "Harlan? Shit, man, heard you split. What's the play?" Jake's pulse raced, old instincts screaming run. But Alex's hand on his thigh steadied him. "Just living, Mike." "You?" Mike shrugged, eyes flicking away. "Heard. Stuff. Your dad lost it." "Huh." The words hung, casual cruelty wrapped in concern. Jake's jaw clenched. the air thick with stale smoke and unspoken barbs. Yeah, but I'm good. Better. Mike nodded, clapped his shoulder too hard, and melted into the crowd. Alex leaned in after, breath hot on Jake's ear. You okay? Yeah. Jake lied, the lie tasting bitter. But as they danced later, bodies swaying to a slow Joan Baez cover, the hurt ebbed, replaced by the solid warmth of Alex's chest. Fall crept in, leaves turning the Scioto crimson, air crisp with cider and change. Jake's designs caught eyes, a mural for the cafe, vibrant and bold, earning him a full-time offer. Celebration dinner at a rooftop spot, city lights sprawling below like a galaxy. To us? Alex toasted, glasses clinking, his smile lighting the night. But mid-bite, Jake's phone buzzed. Elias, urgent. Son, it's your pa. He took a swing at me last night. Over nothing. Come home, Jake, before it boils over. The fork slipped from Jake's fingers, clattering soft. The hook had sunk deeper, pulling him back to the river's edge. The Chevy's wipers slapped rhythmically against the rain-slicked windshield, November gray smearing the world outside. Jake gripped the wheel, knuckles white, Alex beside him scrolling playlists to fill the silence. They'd argued that morning. Alex's, you don't owe them this, clashing with Jake's, he's family. Damn it. But love one, as it always did. Alex packing an overnight bag with a sigh and a kiss. Route 23 unwound like a vein, corn stubble poking through mud, barns sagging under the weight of years. Jake's mind replayed Elias's call. The old man's voice edged with something brittle, not fear exactly, but the wear of a man who'd carried too much too long. They pulled into the driveway at dusk, headlights cutting through the downpour. The Harlan house a hulking shadow with porch light flickering like a wary eye. Roy's truck was there, splashed with mud, engine still ticking cool. Jake killed the ignition, rain drumming the roof like impatient fingers. Ready? Alex asked, hand on his knee, steady as oak. Jake nodded, throat dry. They dashed through the storm, boots splashing puddles, up the creaky steps. The door swung open before they knocked. Elias, apron dusted with flour, eyes lighting at the sight of them. Spark plug. He pulled Jake into a bear hug, rain soaking his shirt, then held out a hand to Alex. And you must be the one stealin' my boy's heart. Elias Harlan. Welcome to the madhouse. Alex grinned, shaking firm. Alex Rivera. Heard the stories. Nice to put a legend to the name. Inside, the house smelled of pot roast and wood smoke, the living room fire crackling low. But tension hummed like a live wire. Roy in his recliner, beer in hand, gaze fixed on the TV murmuring football scores. He didn't look up, but his jaw ticked, the only tell. Dad, Jake said, voice even, hanging coats on the rack. Water dripped from his hair, pooling on the mat. Roy grunted, eyes flicking once, cold, assessing Alex like a stray dog, then back to the screen. Elias bustled them to the kitchen, pouring coffee strong as tar. Ignore the mule. He's been stewing since summer. Dinner was a minefield. Table set with chipped china, roast carved thick, mashed potatoes steaming. Elias kept chatter light. Tales of the shop, a customer's '72 Mustang that purred like a kitten after his tweaks. Alex chimed in, stories of bar fights diffused with charm, drawing a reluctant chuckle from Elias. Roy ate in silence, fork scraping plate like nails on chalkboard. Halfway through, he set it down, deliberate. So, boy, this your solution? The room stilled, silverware hovering. Jake's pulse thrummed in his ears. The fires popped sudden and sharp. Alex's foot nudged his under the table, a silent anchor. Dad, Alex is my partner. That's it. Roy's laugh was bark, devoid of mirth. Partner, like some kind of business deal? This ain't Cincinnati, Jake. This is Harlan land. We don't do that shit here. Elias's fork clattered, eyes flashing. Watch your mouth, Roy. That's my table. Roy leaned forward, face mottling. Your table? You've been filling his head with that soft nonsense since he could walk. If you'd raised me right? Elias's voice rose, chair shoving back. I raised you to be a man, not a damn bigot. Tommy, remember him? My foxhole brother? You think I let hate win then? Roy's eyes narrowed, confusion flickering. Tommy who? What the hell you on about? The air thickened, rain lashing windows like accusations. Jake's chest tightened, the roast turning leaden in his gut. Alex's hand found his, squeeze firm. Elias stood, slow, towering in the small space. Tommy Klein died in my arms, whisperin' for his ma and someone else. The fella he loved quiet. I kept his secret 'cause hate kills quicker than bullets. And now you're slinging it at your own blood. Roy's face drained, then flushed crimson. He surged up, chair toppling with a crash. You lyin' old fool. Always meddlin'. Always. His fist swung wild, connecting with Elias's shoulder. The old man staggered, but didn't fall, hand shooting out to grab Roy's wrist, twist sharp. They grappled, grunts filling the room, plates rattling. Jake lunged. Stop! Echoing futile, Alex pulling him back as crockery shattered. It broke as quick as it flared, Elias shoving Roy away, chest heaving, eyes wet with fury. Roy stumbled out, door slamming, truck roaring into the night. Silence crashed in, broken only by the storm's howl. Elias sank to a chair, rubbing his arm, face ashen. Damn fool. Always was hot-headed. Jake knelt beside him, hand on his knee. Grandpa, Tommy, why didn't you say? Elias's sigh was long, ragged. Times were different, son, but secrets rot. No more. Alex cleared glass quietly, efficient, his presence a calm in the chaos. Later, as rain eased to drizzle, they sat by the fire, Elias spinning the full tale. Tommy's laugh in the jungle, letters burned for safety, the hole it left when he was gone. Jake listened, tears silent, Alex's arm around him, the weight of generations pressing close. That night, Jake lay awake in his boyhood bed, ceiling fans whirring soft, Alex's breathing even beside him. The house creaked, settling like bones, and Jake wondered if bridges could mend with words alone, or if some fractures ran too deep. Morning brought frost on the fields, breath-fogging windows. Elias was up early, coffee perking, bacon sizzling crisp. Roy hadn't returned, his absence a shadow at the table. Jake helped with dishes, suds warm on his hands, the scent of lemon cleaner cutting the night's residue. Go find him, Elias said, drying a plate with deliberate strokes. Talk, before pride turns to poison. Jake nodded, keys in hand. Alex opted to stay. Shop talk with the legend. He winked, easing the knot in Jake's chest. The river road wound south, willows drooping over water dark as secrets. Roy's truck was parked at the old dock, engine cold, him hunched on the pier, line cast idle into the current. Jake approached slow, gravel crunching, heart a drum. Dad. Roy didn't turn, reel clicking faint. The air smelled of wet earth and fish, gulls crying overhead. Go away, Jake. No. Jake sat beside him, pole between them like a truce flag. We need to talk. Roy's tug was half-hearted, line slack. Nothing to say. You made your choice. It ain't a choice, Dad. It's me. Always was. Silence stretched, broken by a splash upstream, a carp thrashing. Roy's shoulders slumped, the fight leaching out. Your ma. She'd hate this. Me yellin', you runnin'. She always said family sticks. Jake's eyes stung, the river blurring. His mom, gone 5 years to cancer, her laugh like wind chimes in the kitchen. She'd want us whole. Not this. Roy reeled in slow hook bear. That old man. Fill in your head. And now you bring him here. Makin' a fool of me. Alex ain't the fool. Hate is. Jake's voice steadied. Words honed sharp. Grandpa told me about Tommy. You knew him? Roy's hands stilled, eyes distant. Vaguely. Buddy from the war. Died young. More than that. And Grandpa kept it 'cause he loved him like family. Like he loves us. The confession hung, heavy as the mist rising off the water. Roy's face crumpled. Not anger now, but something rawer, grief maybe, for the son he couldn't reach. He stood abrupt, pole clattering. I need time, boy. Jake rose too, the dock swaying gentle. Take it, but don't shut me out. As Roy walked away, back bowed, Jake felt the first thaw. A crack in the ice, sunlight piercing through. December dusted the town in white, Christmas lights twinkling defiant against the cold. Jake split time between Columbus and home, the miles a blur of slushy highways and radio static. Alex adapted, charming Elias with tamales wrapped in corn husks, stories of his Puerto Rican abuela's kitchen spells. She said love's the best seasoning. Alex quipped one evening, steam rising from the pot, the house filling with spice and warmth. Roy kept distance, nods at the door, grunts over coffee, but the barbs dulled, replaced by uneasy truce. Passing the salt without a glare, how's the city? Mumbled over pie. Jake took the wins small like crumbs. New Year's Eve brought the annual Harlan bonfire, fields cleared for the pit, neighbors hauling coolers and lawn chairs. Elias presided, stoking flames that roared skyward, sparks dancing like fireflies. Jake arrived with Alex, hands linked loose, testing waters. Folks milled, old-timers in flannel, kids chasing glow sticks, the air thick with cordite and chili. Mike was there, beer in hand, but his nod was neutral, eyes sliding away. Progress, Jake thought, bitter on his tongue. As midnight neared, Roy approached, plate of ribs in hand, grease shining. Jake, Alex. The name's flat, but no venom. Roy, Alex replied, easy, offering a plastic cup of punch. Heard you fish the river. Catch anything big? Roy paused, then took the cup, sip cautious. Catfish mostly. Slippery bastards. They talked shop, trucks, weather, the fire's heat thawing edges. Jake watched, breath held, the countdown echoing distant from a radio. 10, 9. Cheers rose, but Roy's hand landed on Jake's shoulder. Squeeze brief, but there. Happy New Year, son. The words landed soft, a seed in frozen ground. Jake hugged him impulsive, Roy stiff then softening, the scent of smoke and old spice enveloping. Alex grinned over Roy's back, eyes shining. But the real shift came days later, a cardboard box on the porch. No note, just Jake's old sketchpad, pages filled with boyhood drawings. Rivers, trucks, a family stick figure hug. Tucked inside, a photo. Mom holding baby Jake, Roy beside with that lopsided grin, Elias in the background, pipe in teeth. Jake traced the faces, tears spotting the laminate. A bridge, rickety but building. Back in Columbus, the gig bloomed. Agency contract for a pride campaign, billboards bold with intertwined hands against rainbows. Jake poured himself in, late nights at the drafting table, pencils snapping under pressure. Alex supported, brewing tea, massaging knots from his shoulders. You're creating worlds, babe. Own it. One storm-lashed night, power flickering. They lay in bed, thunder rumbling like disapproval. Alex's fingers traced Jake's chest, over the faded sauce scar. Think your dad's coming around? Jake sighed, the sound lost in the rain's patter. Maybe, but Grandpa, he's carrying it all. The stories, the weight. Alex nodded, kiss soft on his temple. Then let him, and you shine. Spring thawed the fields, dogwoods blooming pink along the lane. Easter Sunday, Elias hosted ham glazed sticky, deviled eggs dusted with paprika. Roy showed, tie crooked, bearing a six-pack like tribute. Dinner hummed awkward but alive, talk skirting edges. After, as dishes clattered, Roy pulled Jake aside in the mudroom, voice low. Saw your billboards drive in to work. Flashy. Jake braced, but Roy's eyes held no edge. Proud? Nah, but it's something that... The admission hung, fragile as eggshell. Jake nodded, throat tight. Means a lot, Dad. Outside, Elias and Alex tinkered in the garage, laughter echoing. Old Chevy up on blocks, tools clinking. Jake joined, oil slick under nails, the rhythm familiar. As dusk fell, fireflies winking, Elias clapped Alex's back. You're all right, kid. Family now. But under the stars, Roy lingered on the porch, cigarette glowing. Jake sat beside, silence companionable. Missed this, Roy admitted, smoke curling. You drawin', me watchin' like a hawk. Jake smiled faint. Missed it too. Yet the undercurrent pulled. Elias's coughs deeper now, rattling in the night. Doctor's visits whispered. Pneumonia, they said, from the damp shop. Jake fretted, calls daily, but Elias waved it off. Tough as nails, boy. Focus on your fire. Summer scorched in, heat waves shimmering off asphalt. Jake's career surged. A gallery show for queer artists. His pieces hung bold. Abstracts of shattered plates reforming into hearts, sauce strokes vivid red. Opening night, crowd buzzing, Alex at his side in a button-down that hugged just right. Then the call, Elias, winded. Shops floodin'. Need hands. Jake drove through the night, arriving to chaos. River swollen from storms, water lapping the garage doors, tools floating like wreckage. Elias waded in, stubborn, hauling boxes. Roy was there too, sleeves rolled, cursing the current. They worked till dawn, mud-caking legs, backs aching. As sun rose, steam rising from soaked earth, Elias slumped against the wall, breath labored. Grandpa! Jake rushed, arm around him, Roy on the other side. Elias grinned weak. Just winded, but there's more, boys. Something I gotta do. His eyes held storm clouds, the kind that promised lightning. The doctor's office smelled of antiseptic and stale coffee, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry wasps. Jake sat rigid in the vinyl chair, Alex's hand a lifeline in his, Roy pacing the hall outside like a caged wolf. Elias emerged from the exam room, report in hand, face carved from granite. Stage 3, he said flat, no preamble. Lung. From the asbestos back in the day. Chemo, maybe surgery. Fights on. The words landed heavy, sucking air from the room. Jake's vision tunneled, the paper crinkling in Elias's grip. Alex squeezed, thumb stroking, but Jake barely felt it, numb like diving into icy river. Roy burst in then, door banging. What the hell? You knew. Elias met his gaze steady. Suspected. Didn't want fuss till facts. Fuss. Roy's voice cracked, fists balling. You're my father. Damn it. We fight this together. For the first time, Jake saw it, Roy's armor cracking, vulnerability raw as a fresh weld. Elias nodded, hand on his shoulder. We will, son. All of us. The drive home was quiet, windows down, summer air thick with honeysuckle. Jake's mind raced, treatments, side effects, the shop's bills piling like driftwood. Alex texted contacts, rallying support, Ruby sending care packages, agency bosses flexible on deadlines. Back at the house, they gathered in the kitchen, table laden with takeout, pizza greasy and comforting, the kind with extra cheese that strings like regrets. Elias ate hearty, regaling with shop tales, but his cough punctuated, wet and insistent. Night like this, he said, wiping his mouth. Reminds me of Tommy. We'd sneak smokes after lights out, planning lives we'd never live. He wanted a little place by the water, grow tomatoes, love quiet. Jake leaned in, piecing the man from fragments. What happened after? Elias's eyes distant, fireflies pulsing outside. Came home, buried it deep. Married your grandma. God rest her, had Roy. But Tommy's ghost walked with me. Taught me. Love's the only thing that outlasts bullets or time. Roy shifted, uncomfortable, but listened, beer untouched. Later, as plates cleared, he cornered Jake in the yard, crickets chirping chorus. Your grandpa. He's something. Saved my ass more times than I count. Jake nodded, stars pricking the sky. Yeah, and he saved mine. Chemo started Monday, clinic in Dayton, an hour's haul. They rotated drives, Jake sketching in waiting rooms, Alex charming nurses with coffee runs, Roy silent but present, hands gripping the wheel like lifelines. Elias bore it stoic, humor his shield. This poison's weaker than your grandma's moonshine. But nights hit hard, nausea racking. Elias hunched over the toilet, Jake holding basin, cool cloth to his brow. The scent of vomit and Vicks lingered, mixing with the faint pipe tobacco Elias craved but couldn't indulge. One midnight, fever breaking, Elias gripped Jake's hand. Boy, if I don't. Promise me. Live loud. For Tommy. For you. Tears hot on Jake's cheeks. You will, Grandpa. We all will. Alex became fixture, sleeping on the couch, rising to brew broth, his presence weaving the family tighter. Roy thawed gradual, sharing smokes on the porch, gruff thanks, kid, for the extra pillow. One evening, over checkers by the lamp, Roy admitted, thought it'd break me you comin' out, but seeing you two, it's real, steady. Jake's heart stuttered, the admission a gift wrapped rough. Love you, Dad. Roy cleared his throat. King jumped. Yeah, me too. Summer waned, leaves hinting gold. The shop reopened patched, community rallying, neighbors hauling scrap, Mike even showing with a truckload, apology in his eyes. Heard about Elias. Figured I owed. Jake clasped his hand, old wounds scarring over. Appreciate it. Elias rallied, color returning. But the fire in his eyes burned hotter, planning something unspoken. Jake caught him on calls, voice low, to lawyers in Columbus. Yeah, the will. And the letter. Make sure it lands right. Worry nod, but Jake pushed to work. Gallery buzz growing, a commission for a pride float design. Floats bobbing like dreams on the Scioto. Alex proposed one dawn, casual over pancakes. Ring simple silver from his tip jar savings. Marry me, Jake? Make this forever. Joy exploded. Yes tumbling out. Kiss tasting of syrup and salt. They called Elias first, his whoop echoing. 'Bout time. Invite that pa of yours to the weddin'. Roy's reaction? A pause, then, proud of you, son. Both. Fall painted the town fiery, harvest moons hanging low. Wedding plans sketched hasty, small, courthouse then backyard vows, Elias officiating if strength held. But the night before the ceremony, storm winds howled. Elias gathered them in the living room, fire roaring. Got something to say, he started, voice steady, eyes on Roy. Back in Nam, Tommy gave me a letter, sealed, for if he didn't make it. Kept it all these years. For you, Roy. He pulled an envelope from his shirt, yellowed, tied with twine. Read it. Then understand why I can't let hate win. Not now, not ever. Roy took it, hands shaking, unfolding slow. The room held breath, shadows dancing. His face worked. Shock, then sorrow, tears tracing paths through stubble. Tommy, he wrote to me, said I was the son he wished for, that Elias loved fierce, like family should. Elias nodded, hand on knee. And now, Roy, I do the same. But there's more. I deeded the shop to Jake and Alex. Joint. Your name's off unless you make peace. Real peace. Roy's head snapped up, betrayal flashing. You what? After everything. Everything, Elias cut in fierce. You threw pasta at your boy. I throw you out if you don't grow. The words detonated, Roy surging up, chair toppling. You old bastard. That's my legacy. Jake stood, voice calm. Ours now, Dad. Earn it back. Alex flanked him, united. Roy's rage crested, then crashed, shoulders slumping, the fight draining like receding flood. He sank back, envelope clutched. I need air. He stormed out, door rattling, night swallowing him. Elias sagged, cough rattling. Too far, maybe, but necessary. Jake hugged him tight, fear and love tangling. You did right, Grandpa. Dawn broke clear, wedding day golden. Courthouse vows exchanged simple. Jake in jeans and his mom's old watch. Alex in a vest that hugged his frame. Rings sliding smooth. I do, they chorused. Kiss ceiling under fluorescent hum. Back home. Backyard strung with lights. Neighbors toasting with cider. Elias stood tall, words weaving. Love ain't thrown or shattered. It's mended, fierce and true. Roy arrived late, shadow at the edge, then stepping in, suit rumpled, eyes red. He approached slow, envelope in pocket. Jake, Alex. Read it all night. Tommy's words. Yours in that sketchpad. I'm sorry. For the plate, the words, the years. Jake's breath caught, Alex's hand steady. We forgive, Dad. Join us. Roy nodded, hug enveloping. Rough, real. The scent of river and redemption. Cheers rose, fireflies blessing. But Elias's eyes held shadow, the too far unspoken yet. Winter gripped tight, snow blanketing the fields in hush. The wedding glow lingered, photos pinned to the fridge. Jake and Alex mid-kiss. Roy clapping Elias's back, tentative smile breaking through. The shop thrived under new hands. Jake handling designs for custom wraps. Alex managing books with Ruby's flair for flash. Roy showed sporadic. Hauling parts, grunts evolving to guidance. Loosen that bolt, son, or it'll strip. Elias's treatments dragged. Good days firelit tales, bad ones bedbound sweats. Jake read to him, Whitman leaves, verses of self and song. Voice steady through tears. Keep going, spark plug. Elias rasped, hand frail now. One blizzard night, power out, candles guttering, Elias called them close. Time for the rest. He pulled a tin from under the bed, rusted from wars past. Inside, letters. Tommy's bundle, faded photos. Two young men arm in arm by a jeep, grins wide under helmets. These are mine, Elias said, voice thread. And Tommy's. Buried him after the funeral, but dug him up last month. For you, Jake, Alex, Roy. He passed one to each, hands trembling. Jake's was Tommy to Elias. Love veiled in brother code, longing raw between lines. He was my heart, Elias confessed. Never said it full, but lived it. Roy's letter mirrored, advice to a nephew unborn. Be brave, love without chains. Roy's face crumpled. Reading aloud halting, voice breaking on family. Alex's held a will addendum, shop expansion fund. Earmarked for a Tommy Klein memorial garage. Safe space for queer kids learning trades. You did this, Alex whispered, awe thick. Elias nodded. What went too far? Not disownin' Roy. Is this? I'm leavin' the truth out there. No more shadows. The storm howled, but inside warmth bloomed. Hugs fierce, tears shared. Roy's arm around Elias. Dad, I get it now. Spring unfurled gentle, chemo's end in sight. Elias walked the river, cane tapping, Jake and Alex flanking, Roy trailing with fishing poles. They cast lines, water murmuring, talk easy, dreams of shop apprenticeships for at-risk youth. Pride floats year-round. But shadows lengthened. Scans showed spread. Elias faced it square. Hospice soon. Make it count. The town rallied, fundraisers at the VFW, drag shows for donations, Mike emceeing with jokes that landed soft. Jake's art exploded, murals of intertwined roots on shop walls, vines wrapping prejudice into beauty. One golden afternoon, Elias gathered them on the porch, swing creaking. Roy, you threw pasta once. I threw words, deeds. But love, it sticks harder. Roy nodded, eyes glistening. Learned that, pa. To Jake and Alex. Maureen, you too. Best thing I did. Build on it. His hand found theirs, pulse faint. That night, under harvest moon, he slipped away. Peaceful, breath easing. Room filled with pipe tobacco sent from a final puff. Grief crashed tidal, but they held. Funeral riverside. Casket pine simple. Eulogies heartfelt. Jake spoke last. Grandpa taught love defies. And it does. Roy followed, voice steady. He saved us all. Every day. After. The shop renamed. Klein Harlan Motors. Plaque gleaming. For loves that endure. Jake and Alex honeymooned local. Cabin by the river. Nights tangled. Days sketching futures. Back. Life wove on. Designs for national campaigns. Alex's bar promoted. Roy dating a widow with spunk. Years layered, but the kitchen scar remained, faded but touchstone. Jake traced it mornings, Alex's kiss chasing ghosts. And in quiet moments, they heard Elias's laugh in the wind, urging, live loud. 5 years blurred into a tapestry of triumphs and quiet mends. The shop expanded, bays humming with apprentices. Kids from the edges, queer and straight, learning wrenches and worth under Jake's eye. One, a lanky teen named Riley with blue streaks in his hair, reminded Jake of himself, wide-eyed, sketching carburetors on napkins. Mr. Harlan, how'd you know? Riley asked one oil-slick afternoon, voice small. Jake clapped his shoulder, echo of Elias. Felt it in my gut. Trust that. Alex ran the front now, counterlined with pride pins and coffee mugs etched with rainbows. His laugh filled the space, drawing customers who lingered for stories over lattes. Roy retired partial, tinkering in the back. His barks softened to guidance. Evenings, he joined Jake and Alex for dinners. Pot roast evolved to fusion, Roy's grunts approving, not bad. Kid, over Alex's eras con pollo. The pasta incident, family lore now, retold at bonfires with rueful chuckles. Through like a girl, Roy'd say, beer in hand, Jake punching his arm light, but beneath, the scar pulsed, reminder of fractures healed crooked but strong. Jake's art career soared. Solo show in Chicago, canvases of shattered ceramics reforming, sold to collectors who wept at openings. Critics called it visceral redemption. But Jake knew the truth. Elias's embers, Tommy's whispers. One autumn, Roy called hesitant. Found something in the attic. Come see. The house, still there's jointly, held dust motes in sunbeams. Up in the rafters, a trunk. Elias's war gear, medals tarnished, a photo album yellowed. Flipped open. Tommy and Elias, young gods in fatigues, arms slung, eyes locked secret. Roy traced a picture, voice thick. He never said, but now, I see. Jake nodded, throat tight. He loved Big Dad, like us. That night, over whiskey neat, Roy opened full. After you came out, I drowned it in work, beer. Thought it'd pass like a fever. But seeing you happy with Alex, it shifted. You're my boy, always. Tears tracked, glasses clinking. Love you, Dad. The wedding anniversary fell on a crisp October Saturday. Sky Ohio blue. They renewed vows riverside, small circle. Roy officiating gruff, Riley as witness with sketches in tow, neighbors toasting with cider. Alex's I do came with a wink, ring renewed simple gold. Jake's kiss lingered, world fading to just them, love's gravity. But life tugged. Alex's abuela passed. Funeral in San Juan pulling them south. Salsa rhythms healing grief. Jake designed the program, palms woven in ink. Roy sent flowers. Note scrawled, family sticks. Back, winter brought snow. Holidays hybrid. Harlan ham with Rivera flan. Tree strung with Elias's old ornaments. Twinkling like stars. Riley came out shy over pie. Shop family enveloping him. Hugs. High fives. Roy's welcome. Kid rumbling approval. Spring 2030. A decade post-pasta. Jake felt the pull. Baby talk. Whispers over breakfast. Adoption seminars, home studies, hearts open. Alex dreamed names. Jake sketched nurseries with murals of rivers and roots. The call came May, match found. A toddler named Leo, brown curls and eyes like Alex's. Foster shuffle over, papers signing fate. Homecoming was chaos joyful. Leo's giggles filling the apartment. Tiny hands smearing paint on Jake's latest canvas. Roy visited weekly. Gramps tentative then fierce. Teaching blocks and baits. Like you, boy, he'd say, Leo on knee. One evening, Leo asleep, Jake and Alex on the porch swing. Creak familiar as Elias's tales. We made it, Alex murmured, head on shoulder. Jake kissed his temple. Defied it all. Summer solstice, shop party under stars. Apprentices grilling. Riley DJing indie tracks. Roy dancing awkward with a widow date. Laughter bubbling. Jake watched, heart full. Tommy's ghost smiling in the firelight. But as embers died, Roy pulled him aside, voice low. Your grandpa, that too far? He knew. Pushing me to the edge saved us. Jake nodded, breeze cool. Yeah, love's the farthest worth going. Leo grew wild-haired, chasing fireflies in the yard. His laughter a bridge across generations. At 4, he demanded stories. Papa Jake's pictures. Fingers tracing murals where pasta shards bloomed roses. Jake obliged, voice weaving. Once, a dad threw food 'cause he was scared. But love, it cleaned up the mess and grew stronger. Alex added flair, accents dramatic, Leo's eyes wide as saucers. Nights, they'd tuck him in, monitors humming soft, then steal to the kitchen. Wine poured, dances slow to Coltrane on vinyl, bodies fitting like keys. The shop anchored them. Klein Harlan a beacon, scholarships in Tommy's name pulling kids from shadows. Riley now foreman, mentoring with Jake's sketches as guides. Roy full retired, but daily fixture, fishing Leo at the river, tales of great-gramps Elias, who fixed engines and hearts. One July heat wave, town flooded again. River raging, homes threatened. They sandbagged dawn to dusk, neighbors linking arms. Roy directing like old Union days. Mud-caked, victory beers shared. Roy to Jake. Like your grandpa said, bridges, not walls. Fall brought Leo's first school day. Backpack oversized. Tears Jake's not his. Alex snapped photos. Future artist or barista. Our boy. Pride swelled, the classroom door a portal. Career peaks. Jake's book, Shards to Stars. Illustrations raw. Proceeds to queer youth funds. Launch in Columbus. Elias's photo on cover. Pipe aglow. Roy attended. Suit pressed. Speech short. Proud. Of all. Alex's chain expanded. Coffee carts rainbow-wrapped. His face in local mags. Brewing change. They traveled light. Puerto Rico beaches with Leo building castles. Ohio roots calling back. 10th anniversary. River picnic. Blanket spread. Leo napping. Rings polished. To defying. Alex toasted, eyes crinkling. Jake clinked. And enduring. Winter solstice, bonfire high. Leo roasting marshmallows gooey. Roy arrived with a box, Elias's pipe, cleaned, tobacco pouch fresh. For you, son. Light it right. Jake puffed tentative, smoke curling sweet. Elias's chuckle in the wind. Roy joined, Pipe past, circle closing. Spring 2035. Leo 6. Asked point blank. Why'd great-gramps throw Grandpa Roy out? Jake knelt, eyes level. To teach love's too big for small hearts. And it worked. Leo nodded sage. Like my puzzle. Pieces fit funny. But whole. Summer climax dramatic. Shop threatened by developers. Strip mall plans bulldozing legacy. Town hall erupted. Jake speaking fierce. Slides of murals. Tommy's plaque. This ain't just metal. It's memory. Love's garage. Roy testified gruff. Built my life here. Won't let it go. Alex rallied petitions. Ruby performing protest anthems. Victory vote. Preserved, expanded, community center attached. Queer history wing. Celebration block party. Streets closed. Bands thumping. Leo danced with Riley. Roy two-stepped with Date. Jake and Alex center. Slow sway, world blurring to heartbeat. As stars wheeled, Jake whispered, Grandpa's watching, smiling. Alex squeezed. Ours now, the story. And so it looped. Pasta thrown, plates mended, love's arc bending toward light. In the Harlan vein, defiance bloomed eternal. Roots deep, branches wide. Meaning etched not in scars, but in the living. Fierce, flawed, forever.